Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
Whoa.
It's 0 degrees.
Oh, that's your 0 degrees. Hello.
Weird.
That was very different.
I'm slightly afraid of icy footpath.
It is very icy.
Eyes down.
We're going to walk carefully here. And we're going to walk carefully to the movie Gladiator II. So we should say we have very recently watched Gladiator I in preparation for this, and we decided to record our thoughts on that over on our Patreon at patreon.com/The Cinema. So if you're so inclined, you can head over there and join up for €3 or €4 a month and have a listen to that, and then come
Patreon
right back here.
Is where we review old movies, and here is where we review new movies.
Yes, simple. And nay of the two shall cross.
It is new. It is simple, actually.
Yeah. So I am quite excited for this movie because I'm pumped after watching Gladiator again, because that is awesome. And you want to do the whole thing?
Well, you have to give it its proper reference.
Okay, sure. Awesome soundtrack, awesome movie, great performances. So,
though,
what?
Not to get into our Patreon review, but
Yeah, go. Just save it for that, right? Let's talk about Gladiator 2. So it's been 24 years. Paul Mescal, we're very proud to have an Irishman be a gladiator.
I know.
Rome.
I don't know why I'm so proud. It's like it's my own son who's in the film, honestly.
He's doing us proud up there in the sands of Rome. And so he is. I think he's good casting. Looks the part. I'm
he
really
looks
watched
Roman,
the trailer.
like.
He looks like he's going to capture the spirit of Maximus Decius Berilius Madness.
I'm excited for Denzel Washington based on the trailer.
Yeah, we've got a good cast here.
And you've got Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal together. It's like the internet.
Connie Nielsen is back.
But to those two for a second, the two biggest thirst traps on the internet together, presumably fighting
together
each other.
at last.
And of course, Colleen Nielsen.
Well, they are fighting each other. There's posters that show them fighting each other.
So I just think that's incredible. To me alone, that's worth the price of admission.
Yes.
Just to watch those two in skirts and sandals fighting each other.
So you had an interesting prediction as to Paul Mescal's character Lucius's heritage, which you can find on our Patreon. I'm going to stop plugging our Patreon now. But we'll talk about that on the other side. If it comes true, and I hope you're wrong, personally. But I don't know what else to say. Ridley Scott's here. He's a man who makes big action scenes and set pieces. Mm-hmm. Can I tell you something crazy that I just discovered?
Please do.
Earlier, and shout out to our mutual friend Teddy for alerting me to this. So, in the intervening years, the 24 years, right after Gladiator was a huge hit, they talked about doing a sequel, right? Now, obviously,
but Paul Mescal wasn't out yet.
Spoiler,
so, you can't do it.
they can. So, what do you do? Spoiler alert for the original.
For the film
Maximus
that never was.
Dies. So, what do? And so they start.
Prequel.
Ridley and the writer start bashing around ideas for like other settings in Rome without Maximus, a sequel. Then Russell Crowe gets wind of this, and he's like, "Nah, mate, I gotta be in this." So he hires his friend. Nick Cave, famous musician Nick Cave. I only found out all about this today. To write a sequel to Gladiator 2, but Maximus has to be in it, and that's the challenge
Maximus
he gave him.
Back in the Habit.
So that's good. So Nick Cave goes off, and he's on the record as saying he had an absolute blast writing this because he knew no one would ever make it.
Oh my God, I want to write it.
And then, so the story goes that in Nick Cave's script, it starts in Purgatory where Maximus is, and he meets all the Roman gods, and they're like, "You gotta go back," and they send him back to take on the Christians and kill Jesus. What? And then he ends up time traveling through all of the eras of history because he chooses violence or something, and then he becomes a key general in all of the historical battles throughout the rest of humanity. So he fights in like World War One and Two and Vietnam, and then the movie, Nick Cave's movie, ends with Maximus working in the Pentagon in the US. Yeah, right?
That is astonishing.
Sounds good.
I need to digest this information.
I want that. Whatever we get now will not be as good as that.
I need to park that information because what I'm excited by is Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal wrestling. So let's get back to that.
So let's go see that. We're almost there. So we're gonna see you all on the other side of Gladiator II.
Bye.
General Acacius, there are victories yet still to come.
Rome has so many subjects. She must feed them.
They can eat war.
The arena turns slaves into gladiators, then gladiators into free men.
You have something in you. I knew it from the start.
Did you now?
Rage. And rage is your gift.
This is about survival! Survive! Hold together, and when it charges, break for the wall.
Whose head could I give you that would satisfy this fury?
The entire Roman armies.
Too much.
The general will do.
Hi, we're back. We've seen Gladiator 2. If it's your first time here at the cinema, we won't spoil Gladiator 2 until we get to Spoiler Street, which is on our way home. Here we are, going home. So, Kathy, you've seen Gladiator 2. Mm-hmm. How you feeling?
So
has your thirst been quenched?
It has actually. Opening battle, phenomenal.
Yeah, great.
Loved it.
Really good.
I do love to see a big battle on screen. Obviously Ridley Scott is very good at doing big battles. See Napoleon review from 2 years ago. I really enjoyed it. It's funny because on rewatch the first one I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like fully enamored with it, and I thought it was quite baggy in the middle and like parts of it were quite dull. And I feel like this film almost was the opposite to the first one, in that I thought the middle was brilliant and then I thought it lost steam a bit at the end. So I think the second and third acts are kind of flipped in the two films. I loved Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is actually, I didn't realise, he's the star of this film, for anyone who doesn't know. He's literally the lead character.
He's chomping every bit of Roman furniture he can find.
Why he has an American...
At one point he is literally caressing furniture.
And it was a fully American accent. And it's like, yeah, sure, it's ancient Rome. Like Paul Mescal can't have an Irish accent, but boy can Denzel have an American accent.
It's basically Denzel's character from Training Day in ancient Rome.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But even more...
and that's great.
But even better, yeah. I love to see Paul Mescal. I'm a big fan of Paul Mescal. It's very interesting to see him in a role that isn't one where he's in kind of an indie like soft boy movie. So I really enjoyed seeing him as an action star.
Yeah, this is his biggest role.
It's also
ever, right?
The only thing that I've seen him in where it's not a mournful and kind of sad vibe.
Are you kidding me? Did you not watch the movie?
No, but it's an action movie. Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? I think of All of Us Strangers are like normal people.
Yeah.
I think he's an unreal action star. I actually saw a video of him only this morning because my entire internet is currently just Paul Mescal videos of how this woman who like horse trains all the actors in like Hollywood, and she said she's never seen somebody as good with horses as Paul Mescal, and I was like, of course.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she trained Paul Mescal.
And no, she trained him how to ride horses.
Give him a carrot.
And like, of course, the videos are just Paul Mescal like murmuring and whispering to horses. And as I said to
as
Dave,
if people weren't thirsty enough.
During this film, I literally turned to Dave and said, like, Paul Mescal has sexual energy with everyone, and that actually transpires also with horses. He was brilliant. I really enjoyed him, albeit I do think he was given some shocking dialogue that no actor could deliver. And finally, of course, Pedro Pascal. Loved to see him. Felt like he was a bit underutilised. Connie Nielsen, loved to see her. She got more to do in this film. And overall, it became a bit cumbersome by the end, and like they could have definitely cut half an hour out of it. But I had loads of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Do you know, you just love skirts and sandals on like a big cinematic, old-fashioned movie.
Yeah, it does feel like a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it just felt like a good day out, you know.
Yeah, to watch that sort of genre.
Yeah.
Rather than honestly, and this is coming from the biggest superhero movie fan, but we need to give that a rest now.
Well, I don't think you can call yourself that anymore.
We really do.
You can't say I'm the biggest superhero fan, and also they should stop making
the last
them.
few years I'm just too much.
But now it's going to be all skirts and sandals.
So I'm like, skirts, swords and sandals. You mean?
Well, they're in
skirts as well. True. Yeah. So I thought this movie was incredibly disappointing. I'm not.
I know. I heard you groaning next to me as I was
It's a
like,
big old groan of a movie.
I was veering between like slightly cheering and just going. Doo, 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 doo.
But here's my issue with this movie. I'll agree with you. There's a lot of fun to be had in here, but it is.
Oh, and the crazy twins! I love them.
They're great. Yeah, they're the Emperor twins. There's fun to be had here. There's spectacle to be had. Some of the fights, I think a lot of the fight scenes were really good.
Yeah, they were.
And I was admiring them and I was having fun. But it was more of a clinical admiration. Like, I think what this is lacking compared to the original, and you have to compare it to the original because this movie is consistently reminding you of the original. Do you remember that movie?
It keeps being like,
and you're like,
just in case you didn't know, I'm actually a sequel. And this is part homage.
I didn't feel anything. Like, we just watched Gladiator, and my blood was pumping. I felt stirred. I was pumping my fist in the air.
I venture many people felt stirred by the sight of Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal in skirts.
But this is the thing. This movie has all the right ingredients, and it is not a good cocktail. And we've only just come out of it, so I don't have the answers to why it wasn't working. But one thing that is clear to me, and we'll talk about it a bit more in Spoiler Street, but the first movie is a revenge story, and that revenge propels that movie because it is so pure. Because, and I will talk about what happens in the first movie, you are introduced to a kind, benevolent Richard Harris, and he's fantastic and he's wonderful, and you spend time with him, and you spend time with Maximus, and you realise that they are
he's not really wonderful though, because he's out there conquering and attacking.
Whatever. But the movie, what the movie is trying to tell you. Good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, but he isn't.
Then this sinister son comes in, murders him in cold blood, snatches it away from Maximus, and then brutally murders his wife and son, and later taunts him. So this is a villain through and through, okay? And this is somebody who Maximus is driven throughout the movie to see killed, and eventually we get that. So that is it's basic and it's simple.
That is a whole
this
lot of
movie,
spoilers
and
for
we'll
the
talk
first
about
movie.
it. But I said I was going to spoil the first movie.
Yeah.
This movie is completely lacking in motivation and central motivations. It tries to emulate the revenge plot and tries to make it a bit more interesting, and I think it is to the movie's detriment.
It's interesting though, because we both said on watching the first one that it lacked any sort of interesting subplots behind the scenes.
This one has more of that.
This had really good political stuff.
Agreed. The sort of political rise to power, sort of backstabbing stuff in this movie is more interesting.
Way better, yeah.
I agree with you there.
I think partially it's the choice that they obviously made when writing the film, is that in the first movie, it's a Russell Crowe movie and there's supporting cast. In this film, it is legitimately a two-hander, I think, with Denzel Washington and Paul Mescal, and then Colleen Nielsen's got a much bigger part, and then you've got Pedro Pascal, and then you've got the two Emperor twins. So there's actually a lot more character-wise going on.
I don't agree with you there. I think I agree with what you said earlier in that this is Denzel's movie, and it is. And that's the problem. So this movie is more interested in the political machinations and all that stuff, and it does more of that. But it's to the detriment of what the movie is supposed to be, which is the protagonist and their journey towards revenge. There are 2 hours of this movie where the main character has no agency or drive or anything, and it's just and I just think this character Lucius doesn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't care for him. I wasn't interested in him. As you said, none of the lines
He was given
are landing.
so unfair. He was
This-
like, I'm annoyed on Paul Mescal's behalf. Like, he was given the worst lines in the film.
Now
Like, he was
I
just
read.
He was just like something really dramatic would happen, and he'd be like, I am not a slave.
Yeah,
and you're like, wait, what? Because you feel like a really good line should have come out. One
The
of our,
first movie
patrons-
has so many iconic lines,
does.
and a lot of them came from a script punch-up. Now,
That makes
this movie
sense.
needed a script punch-up so badly.
Like,
and
I didn't remember this movie, but boy did I remember Do I Not Entertain You? The first one, like, before we rewatched. And one of our patrons...
Except it's actually Are You Not
or
Entertained?
Are You Not Entertained? And one of our patrons actually messaged us saying that they think this film was written by ChatGPT, which I think is a bit harsh.
It's a bit harsh.
And yet, because I'd already read that comment as I was sitting in the movie, I was like, do you know what?
So
It could be.
What happened is we have a problem where you simultaneously have too much going on and not enough going on. As
Yeah.
in, I'm not invested enough in any particular thing, and it all becomes very muddled. And I think you occasionally get bursts of I was entertained and fun
course,
and brilliant.
yeah. Like, it's spectacle.
So it seeps through. This isn't a bad
No.
movie, but I think it is a failure, and I'm disappointed. And when you compare it to the original, and I think Ridley Scott is somebody historically who was always more interested in visual and spectacle, and he nails that, and he doesn't put as much focus into story.
Like, I think some of those scenes in this, some of the fight scenes in the Colosseum and the battle scenes were actually better than the original. I think part of the problem here might be as well, for, you know, the way the original movie would be quite revered of people who originally saw it, and particularly maybe someone like yourself who saw it as a teenage boy. Bit like Star Wars, when you watch them back as an adult, if you're not particularly bothered by the first couple of ones, you don't really care or get upset about the latter ones because they all kind of feel the same. And to me, this feels like a very good sequel, ticks all the boxes, is worthy of its predecessor, ticks, you know, like, I didn't come out with my blood pumping, like, you know, really excited, but I also didn't after the first one, you know.
So you're saying to you this feels like
Totally worthy.
comparable to the
Yeah,
first one.
I
And
agree with you, though,
it had the same, but both movies had the same effect on you, is what you're saying.
In the
Roughly.
round. Now, I was more invested in Russell Crowe's character because, as you say, it's a revenge movie, and I love a revenge movie. But in this one, I was actually more invested in the plot because I felt like there was more going on.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I think we should go to spoilers now, speaking of said plot. And before we get to Spoiler Street, you may hear an ad for one of our favourite podcasts.
Hello, this is Simon Mayo.
And this is Mark Kermode.
He's the UK's best and most trusted film critic.
He's a best-selling writer, broadcaster, and national treasure.
Far too kind. Kermode and Mayo's Take has all the reviews you need and star guests such as
Sir Ian McKellen.
Nice to be with you.
Emma Stone,
That sounds like something I would love to be a part of.
Ewan McGregor.
I'm very good. How are you doing?
Kate Blanchett. What was that word you used?
Cattywampus.
Kermode and Mayo's Take, all the film you need. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, we're back. So, spoilers now for Gladiator 2 and, of course, Gladiator 1, which I have already spoiled
Which
for
we
you
continue to spoil.
in detail. Okay, so I think the movie took a long old time to reveal Lucius's
Denzel.
heritage when... or the fact that he was Lucius when that was, like, all over the advertising and the synopsis and the trailer. So
Yeah, but the movie can take its time. We all know what we're there for.
Sure,
so
but I
liked
felt
how
like
they built it up.
I felt like there was a bit I felt like, and also it didn't make sense to me how the mother figured it out. It made sense for me she would recognize her son in the same room as him, but when she's up in the
Dave,
whatever the stands with, and she hears, hang on, say that line of Virgil's again?
Don't you remember? He put sand in his hands.
It's like,
and then they
sorry, what?
Is it at that moment or a later moment where they then did a flashback, in case we didn't guess, of like Russell Crowe putting sand in his hands?
Oh, come here. That end was so bad. And he goes, speak to me, father.
During the movie they did flashbacks.
During the movie they reminded us. Anytime they flash back to Gladiator 1, I was like, I wish I was watching Gladiator 1 again.
Do you know what though? They actually didn't do it as much as I thought they were going to.
No, it wasn't too egregious.
You should never, and I think this is a number one rule of any type of filmmaking, or indeed a TV show. Don't do flashbacks to scenes like that were already in it. It's different if it's lost and the flashbacks are part of the plot, but don't show us whole scenes.
Why do you think that?
There's just no need for it.
I don't think it improves
we already
it.
Get it.
Yeah, and I don't think.
He picks up the sand and it's like doo 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 doo, and even if we didn't remember that Russell Crowe had
Maximus used to do that,
or if we hadn't just seen it like I did, or otherwise I wouldn't have remembered. It doesn't matter. We understand there's some significance to him doing this. We don't need the flashbacks.
Yeah.
But I think what I thought was silly was that what I thought the film paced wrong is that Denzel Washington figured out that he was the son basically at the same time she did. And I felt like one of them should have figured it out quite before the other.
I did
kind of held it over them.
I did like that he figured it out with the statue.
I just love when she starts repeating the poetry as if it's the only poem in Rome.
But
and then Denzel's just looking back and forth going, oh, that's her son.
I'm sorry, why would she think that that's her son based on a second-hand account that a man said a poem?
But also he put sand in his hand, Dave.
No, sorry, it's BS.
And also, he looks exactly like I actually pissed myself out loud laughing when Denzel Washington goes to visit her and he goes, who's that statue of? And she goes, oh, that's my father when he was young, and it's a statue of Paul Mescal.
Yeah. Now, however, I got to tell you this. So Ridley Scott said that about casting Paul Mescal. He said that he was watching Normal People and had been thinking about Gladiator II.
And he saw his legs in the gas shorts.
Yeah, he saw his leg. Yeah. No, he saw Paul Mescal in that role and he said, do you know what? He kind of looks like Richard Harris a bit. And that's why he cast him.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Firstly, Ridley Scott watched Normal People?
He sure did. He's on record.
And secondly, that's fascinating. But you see, what's interesting about Normal People is, it's I know I said he does kind of sad boy roles really well, but actually it was also a physical role in the sense that he's a really good GAA player, and in that show, I know you didn't watch it all, but I did, he plays a lot of sport and stuff. So I guess Ridley Scott watching it, it's like when we heard that the guy who made Wonka saw a High School Musical of Timothée Chalamet and went, oh, he can sing and dance. I feel like watching Normal People, you could be like, oh, he's actually quite fit and a really good actor.
Yeah, no, I think it's good casting. I just don't think the character works.
He was basically because you know what? The other sequel that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I heard that Ridley Scott wrote a sequel, but it entirely hinged on the lead actor looking exactly like a young Richard Harris.
It just drove me nuts that Lucius, Lucius has no his motivation is nominally to kill Pedro Pascal.
This is Dave.
And then we realised immediately Pedro Pascal's a good guy. So then you're just waiting for that to
I was a bit confused
to turn out
happened.
Exactly like it will.
No, but this is
I'm a good guy.
This is what
it's like, okay, I won't kill you then.
Can I tell you his different motivations in the film?
What?
First motivation.
We also
the Roman army, because he hates the Roman army.
Yeah.
But
he's never motivated to defeat the Roman army ever. Only at the third act. In the first two scenes. In the opening. But then he's just like, I hate the Romans.
Then he's motivated to kill Pedro Pascal. Then he's motivated once again to kill the Roman army, and then finally he's motivated to actually become the Prince of Rome. And that's a lot of different character points for one guy who barely says anything in the movie.
Exactly.
And that's why it makes it really hard to follow him.
You get nothing from him, and he's actually absent for large bits of the movie.
It's weird, they didn't use him enough. But I think at the same time, because the film was, and I think I understand why they did this, because Denzel Washington is such a riot in the film.
He's a riot. That's a good way to describe him.
God, isn't Denzel Washington really tearing up the scenery here? We want to spend more time with him. But because he's rarely with Paul Mescal, they're kind of happening side by side and they're not really working together. And I think where the film really missed a beat for me was that they should have had more scenes of Paul Mescal and the mom, because like what didn't make sense to me is the first time he meets her, he's like, fuck you, I'm not your son.
And then the second time he's like, I love you.
And the second time he's like, mother, I love you, and I'm the Prince of Rome. And I feel like
you're right, there's so much missing. I had the same thought.
There's something in the middle missing there, because both of those actors did both of those scenes really well, but we're like, but where's the bridge?
I think the movie wants us to think he had an absolute transformation when he met Pedro Pascal in the arena.
But Pedro Pascal didn't say enough to him, though.
I know.
He just said...
He said, I love your mother and I loved your father.
I love your mother and I loved your father and I'd have died for your
also,
father.
by the way, not happy that Maximus is his father.
So,
because two things we now know about Maximus. One, he... impregnated Connie Nielsen and married and impregnated his wife in the same year.
That's why when we reviewed the first movie, we were
the sons are the same age.
We were like, he can't be the father of this son in the new movie because he loved his wife so much. That is one thing we know about about him, right? That's his entire plot.
The movie just wanted it to happen.
And the boys are the same age. So how did he have kids the same age if he was the most loyal servant of all time to
and
his
the
wife?
most moral person in the world?
In the original movie, they obviously hadn't planned on this, or they would have been like, because there's literally a line where they're both like, my son is 8, my son is 8 too.
Yes.
Whereas if you were planning this, her son would have been like, but even
they weren't planning
that doesn't make sense, because then in this movie they said her son was 12 when he got sent away. Where's the continuity?
Oh, you're right.
Where's the script editor?
You're so right. And the other thing was they mentioned that she was 14 when she had him. So now
when she got married.
When she got married?
Yeah.
Oh, so you think she got married at 14 and then later had an affair with Maximus?
Well, they said she got married when she was 14 to a gay guy.
Oh,
and
but
then
she took many.
lovers.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
So they weren't saying she got pregnant when she was 14.
Oh, okay.
And then that scene went really over the top when he goes, so if he was 12 when he died.
Oh, that was
terrible.
And then
what age would he be now? And I was like,
guys, we know.
Yeah,
we know. You have it in the trailer. And if you didn't have it in the trailer, I had it 10 minutes ago.
But also, that scene was fun to me because I like kind of investigative scenes. Except
but
then
it's not an investigative
in the next
scene.
scene, Connie Nielsen was figuring it out for herself anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we didn't need...
We've 3 scenes back to back of people trying to piece together this information. One person pieces it together with a ridiculously scant amount of information, which is absurd. The other person figures it out because he sees a statue that looks a bit like him, which I'll almost believe.
No, and he also.
But then we get another scene where he's talking to the other guy and being like, maybe it is him. Let's do the maths. No, just have him do the maths off screen, for fuck's sake.
So do we think? What's interesting is that at the end of Gladiator 1, it's kind of a bit like Rome is going back to the people and the Senate's going to take over. Obviously something's gone terribly awry.
Yeah.
But what's really fun and what I really enjoyed, and they were definitely channeling the spirit of Joaquin Phoenix, was the two crazy...
Yeah, they're great fun.
...twins. I enjoyed, I think every moment they were on screen together, I enjoyed them.
I agree.
They were really good.
They were both, was it Joseph Quinn and is it John, forget his name, but...
they were so good.
We saw him in The White Lotus.
Yeah, Joseph Quinn was quite something in the
No, they were both great.
Yeah.
They were eating up the scenery, and that's what I want. Them and Denzel were having so much fun, and I was having fun with them. However, they were objectively evil and did evil things and were told in the title credits they're evil.
Yeah.
And nobody likes them. And they're clearly just, whatever, evil.
They're basically just Joaquin Phoenix with bleached hair.
I know, but exactly. But if you take out them doing anything to our protagonist, like in the first one, like Joaquin Phoenix was all those things, and he murdered his father, Maximus's father, and he murdered his wife and
There's
son.
too many characters here.
But my point is, that's so much cleaner, and I hate Joaquin Phoenix's character so much more. I didn't hate these two guys. I didn't hate them. In fact, I was like, where are they? I want to watch them. They're having great fun. Because Paul Mescal's character is no crack.
Yeah, but then Paul Mescal's character was always having the crack down in the Gladiator arena with the lads.
There's a point in where he's suddenly leading them and inspiring them all, but
and again,
I felt like
missed a scene.
we got that we missed some connective tissue there
with him, and I think what they did was, I think they're overly reliant on the fact that oh well, look, he's Maximus's son, so we'll all just believe that he's a leader, and we're and we'll just believe that he suddenly loves his mom, and it's but no though, because you told us he was reluctant, and you told us he hated his mom.
Yeah.
Now, what I really enjoyed was the Gladiator arena stuff. So the
Yes.
what the hell were those
The
monkeys?
monkey thing was
like
great.
something out of sci-fi.
They were really scary. I think they
not
were. Someone write in and tell us who knows animals.
Yeah.
But were they baboons? They were terrifying.
When Paul Mescal bit that animal, it brought the house down.
That was pretty
That
cool.
was
And I
so
liked,
cool.
so there was a lot of great stuff in here, and I liked that they all start going, like, all his friends start joshing him at the table for being Monkey Boy.
And what about when they, like, this actually makes no physical sense. Like, I'm not a physics gal, but I don't think this would have worked. They basically filled the arena with an ocean and had
Oh my god!
sharks in
I
it.
don't know now.
That
I don't
was
trust.
so
I don't trust the
fun.
historical accuracy
There is
of
no
anything
possible
Ridley
way.
Scott touches.
No,
So,
and
but
this
I
is
don't
not-
care.
This
It
is
was
not
so fun.
purporting to be accurate. Like, there's no way you could have actually had waves and that depth of water
Why
and
not?
sharks. It was like a Disneyland ride.
It was so
like,
fun.
It was so.
It was great.
fun.
I loved it.
I enjoyed all of that stuff. I enjoyed the guy standing up, like, riding the rhino.
The rhino, that was so good.
Yeah, it was all really good. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean about the visual spectacle. Like, I'm just happy to go to the cinema and, like, it was just all really cool looking, you know. It was like when I went to see Napoleon, and like that film had its flaws, but like the battle scenes were brilliant
Yeah,
to watch.
I agree. This film delivered on spectacle. I had a lot of fun occasionally.
It did annoy
But
me though that in
if
both
you-
films,
Yeah.
like, this really bothers me. So there's a term called fridging, which is where a female character dies
yeah.
to serve a male character's plot.
Total fridge.
So first film, the wife fridged. This film, oh, Paul Mescal's got a wife. She's going to be dead within 2 minutes. Oh yeah, there she is, dead. Shot through the armor, right into the heart. And then his
but it
mother.
didn't land. We didn't spend enough time with
We
her.
didn't spend any time with her. And then, now we hadn't spent time with Russell Crowe's wife either, but just.
No, but
they
why did
gave
that
it-
land so
because
much
they-
better?
Because we watched him grieving her for ages.
Yes,
In this
is that
film,
it?
they moved right on past it. And then
Yeah, you're
his
right.
mom wasn't fridge because obviously she's like a lead character. But then at the end, it was absurd that she got shot in the exact same spot, and I thought it was too on the nose. Like there was no need for them to. And again, not Paul Mescal's fault. He was given no time to grieve any of this. So we
No,
got
this
no
is in the edit.
reaction.
This is in the writing and the
Yeah.
and the edit.
We got no reaction, and then right at the end, like, it was really meaningful in the first film. And again, spoilers for the first film, which we already completely spoiled, because like at the very end when Russell Crowe dies, he like kind of is going to heaven, and he's back on the farm where him and his wife and son lived, and he's like touching the grass.
It's beautiful.
It's
I
already
love that
beautiful.
ending.
And then this film's like no context. Now Paul Mescal's in the Gladiator arena. And then, if you hadn't or didn't remember the first film, you'd be like, "What's happening?" Because he's like, "Speak to me, Father." And then you see hands going through the grass, and I am convinced, and I need to look this up. I'm convinced it's Russell Crowe's real old man hands
Yeah,
now, and
I
they
bet.
probably paid him like $2 million.
Honestly, I was
to come back.
gripping the seat. Like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I admire the film for not
showing
showing
us his ghost.
old Russell Crowe smiling down on his son.
No, they would have had to do young CGI Russell Crowe because he'd have never aged. I'm convinced it was his hands, though.
I think you're right. I think they got Russell Crowe
Also,
to
there's
go
no-
back to the barley field.
They seem to imply that like Paul Mescal like always knew Marcus Aurelius was his dad or whatever his name is.
Yeah, he didn't seem
But
surprised
he
at all.
never knew in the first film.
Yeah. No, he did not know.
No. And they were saying rumor was it in this film. They're saying rumor was it that Joaquin Phoenix was his dad. So she's like, "Your father is Maximus," and he's like, "Whatever. I hate you. Fuck off." I did like that one scene where he went, "Get out!" But then nothing came of it because then in the next scene they were just like, "I love you."
It's just a mess.
I just think,
The story was a mess. The character work was a mess. The dialogue didn't land,
But
and
the
everything
film-
else was fiery.
But the film is not a mess.
No.
It's just the
No, well,
character
no,
and the
that's
plot
what I mean.
stuff. Yeah.
Just the characters and the story. That's it. You know, the two most functional, most important
what else
parts
they didn't give us?
of a film.
We were denied, and I would say robbed,
What?
a scene with Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal and Connie Nielsen. We should have had one scene with the three of them, like having a conversation
At the dinner table.
Just something really sinister and like him really angry.
Yeah, but
and
the
then
problem-
Paul,
no,
and
that-
then Pedro Pascal should have been like.
But
like,
that
he's
wouldn't
like,
work because in a minute he'd be like, "Oh, I actually hate the emperors and I'm plotting their downfall." Oh, me too.
Yeah,
Great.
but like you can't cast the two of them and not have them having more screen time together. Like,
Yeah, their fight was a bit of a
I loved
damn squib.
I loved the fact that the emperor was like, "Kill him," and Paul Mescal's like, "I'm not killing anyone for you," and then he goes to the crowd.
that's good.
Is this what Rome does to its heroes?
No, that was good.
So why did Paul Mescal have to have an English accent? he's nominally African, and then Denzel Washington has an American accent, and they're in ancient Rome.
Are you saying that they should have just let everyone have their accents, and then he should have had his
saying,
like Mayo, or where's he from?
I'm saying
is he from
he's from Kildare, I think.
Kilkenny,
Kildare? I think Maynooth. I don't know. I think
yes, Maynooth. You're right.
I think Denzel Washington should have had generic bad guy English accent, because American accent just was so meaningless. America didn't exist then.
Come here, lads.
As we know it.
Are you not entertained?
Obviously, the land existed and there were Native American people living there, but Denzel Washington's American accent would not have existed.
Yeah, it's really bothered you.
It really bothered me. I was just
I'm in favour of people just having their own accents, because they're also, Kathy, they're also supposed to. How far do you want to take this? They're all supposed to be speaking Latin.
I want them to take it to the furthest.
Do you like they're speaking English? Is that a problem
for you?
I want
a full Latin film. I love when Denzel Washington, they were like, "Oh, Denzel, will you do this role? You get to be an absolute hammy villain, have the time of your life." And he's like, "I'm not putting on any fucking accent." And they're like, "Fine, here's $10 million."
I thought he was fine.
Yeah, no, I loved him. He was brilliant.
Anyway,
right, we're gonna go. We'd loads of fun. Let us know what you thought of Gladiator 2. Do you think it was written by ChatGPT? And come over
that's not like some writers worked on this and they did their best, presumably.
Yeah,
it's very impressive that this movie got made, but
is it? It's Ridley Scott. Yeah. Like, it's not impressive.
Fair enough.
I mean, he is impressive. I think he's a very impressive guy. I'm just saying it's not impressive that he got a movie made that is a sequel to one of the biggest movies of all time.
Fine.
So come over and find us at Blue Sky. It's where we're spending all our time now. It's the new Twitter.
That's where Kathy's there.
We're also on TikTok, YouTube, patreon.com/The Cinema.
Kathy speaks for us on social media. To all of you who assume that it's me.
You're the one who makes videos and not me.
That's true. If you want to see my face, go to YouTube. Right, thanks for listening. Or you can email us, thecinemile@gmail.com.
And let us know, do we entertain you?
Yeah. Are you entertained?
Or are you not entertained?
Yeah. Are you entertained or are you not entertained? Answer in the poll below. Thank you. Bye.